Hi, everybody. My name is Shane Jarman. I'm with BEXRealty.com, and today I'm joined by Jesse Rosolo. Did I pronounce that correctly, Jesse?
Rossolo, yes.
Rosolo. Okay, great. And Eric Fisher with Defy Realty. The
Mhm.
reason I'm having the guys on today is because we ended up in a conversation a little over a week ago where I was talking to them about the rental leads that they're currently purchasing from BEX. I was always under the impression they were purchasing our rental leads, which they've been doing for, guys, I don't know, maybe a little over a year now, would you say?
Mhm. Yeah.
For working rentals. And when I found out on our conversation a couple weeks ago is that you end up converting a lot of these renter customers into buyers, and you have a whole process for this, which definitely was something I thought was really interesting. I wanted to learn more about it. So we set up this call today to talk about how you're having success purchasing rental leads and converting those customers into buyers. So with that said, let's kind of jump in. If you guys could kind of walk me through your process, kind of like what are the steps you take when it comes to, first capturing that rental lead when we send it to you, and then kind of what do you
Okay.
do next?
Well, I think Shane, and thank you for having us here.
Of course.
As you know, we are lover of the BEX leads, whether they're purchase leads or rental leads. And here's the thing: is a rental lead for everybody? Probably not. It is it good for people that are so busy they're doing $2 or $3 million listings or sales per week? Probably not. Is it for the person who doesn't want to work a lead? Probably not. Is it for everybody else? Absolutely. And to go into a process, Jesse will chime in on this as well. But these rental leads, first of all, you don't want to categorize them as a rental lead. A lead is a lead. What you do with it when it hits you becomes that process. So
Hmm.
if somebody comes in as a rental lead, you know, don't tab it, don't call it something. It's a relationship. You're about to embark into a relationship with a client who wants to do something. So if you go into it with this preconception, this already block, oh, this is a rental, it's going to take all this time in the world, it's going to do this, you've already lost your ability to turn this into actually a purchase or even move forward with the lead. Because keep in mind, rental leads, um, once you've started it, has become a purchase lead. It's become something that you can turn from a rental, whether it's 12 months, 6 months, the next month, or the very first day that you talk to them. It can be converted. And again, that all depends on how you want to work your deals. If you're going to go into this with the mindset of, whatever lands on my lap and then I'll work with it, well, you're going to be starving for some time. We put the same effort into a rental lead that we do into a purchase lead. We don't care if it's a $1,500 a month or a $9,000 a month. We treat it no different than a person who's purchasing $1 million home. Yeah. So, but
Yeah, and one thing I would add into that is that, a lead is a lead. There's no such thing as a bad lead. I think that an interesting thing about these leads is that nobody's buying them. Nobody buys rental leads. They stay away from them like they're the plague almost. And it's funny that when you call a buyer lead, it's almost like they want to get off the phone immediately because they've been called before and they've been looking at purchasing, and everybody's kind of aggressively attacking those
Hmm.
those leads.
Yeah.
Same thing as if you called like an expired listing or something like that. The morning it hits the expired list, the people want to throw their phone away. They're angry because they're just getting blasted. And it almost feels like that whenever you're calling a buyer too, unless you call them at the right time, at the right place, you hit them with the right property, whatever it is. Rental leads are almost happy that you called them. It's very weird. It's like the conversation completely changes. It's like they're like, "Oh, you're Eric? You're an agent? You're calling me about a rental?" Like it's weird. It's and maybe that's just the type of demographic that
Right.
it is. Maybe, they think nobody wants to help them because they're only looking for a rental. Like a lot of times when we get on the phone with them, they're like, "Well, sorry, it's only a rental, guys." And
Hmm.
it's like, don't apologize for that. Like it's okay. It's interesting that when you call them, they may not be a renter too. And this is an interesting part. I think Eric was trying to touch on this is They may not be a renter. They may just be someone who's inquiring about rental property. It could be an investor who's looking to purchase, who's checking out the comps in the area. Maybe it's someone who owns a property in that community who wants to rent theirs, or maybe is thinking about selling theirs. We've had all of these different scenarios. We've had weird scenarios where we ended up getting connected to the friend of the friend who was looking for the rental, who ended up doing, it's all this weird stuff. So whenever you start the conversation, if you can just build a relationship, there's so many possibilities that come off of that. But the greatest thing is that every possibility leads to money, basically. Let's say it's just a rental. That's all it is. It's $1,500 a month rental. It's not like you're wasting your time. You're still going to get paid. It's just, what is your process then to work that renter? Are you showing them 100 houses? No. And we'll get into that. Like, you have to work the rental smart, but it all starts with a fact find call that has to be very targeted and very specific. And then once you know what they're trying to accomplish, then you can move forward on really what your steps are next.
And Shane, none of that happens if you go into it with that pre-notion of it's just a renter.
Right.
None of it can take place. Nothing good could come out of a situation if you go into it and say, you're on you get the rental lead call, and here goes another rental. Well, you've already ruined the call. Don't even make it at that point.
Right.
It just makes no sense to me. If you just give these leads, all of them, chance to mature, massage them, or let them become what they actually are going to become, it turns into, and he'll tell you, it always turns into something good. If they don't rent and they don't buy, it's still an amazing lead. It's still an opportunity down the road for somebody to market our company while we've been given a chance to make money during it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have to pay for marketing with these leads. They do it for me, especially if we get them into a rental or they purchase a home.
Mm-hmm.
They'll tell everybody how amazing it was.
So when you guys start that conversation with the customer, is it kind of, do you have a specific list of questions that you're prepared to kind of go down this list? Is it more of just a general conversation? I know you mentioned relationship building. So is that more of the focus? Like, what does that look like once you've called them? Obviously they're surprised, right, that they're actually getting a phone call from an agent because no one wants to call them. So what does that look like?
Well, on the, basically at the beginning, again, first of all, talk to them like human beings. It's not a number. It's not a planned, this is where we're headed. Nothing's been written. It's something fresh. Start talking to them. Have a relationship. Out of that relationship comes opportunities. Out of those opportunities comes chances to pivot. Mm-hmm. If we're talking and asking specific questions, and just to go into some of the questions, but if you're listening and you're talking, things come up, and that this is where I turn. Mm-hmm. And because there's certain things that clients will tell you on the phone, that lead you to believe that, we just moved in the area, we just got our jobs. Well, that there's some challenges there, but you don't ever go into it and say, okay, well, they're not going to be able to get anything because they just got their job. That's not true. And so don't go into this mindset. Again, let it mature. And, so I think asking specific questions at the beginning, just build a relationship at the beginning. The questions will automatically come up.
And, and I'll add that, I do a lot of the database management, a lot of the stuff in the back end. And one of the nice things about the BEX leads is that when you get, client Sally as a client or get them as a lead, that is Sally's number. 99% of the time, that's her number, that's her email address. So it's not like you're calling, some random thing that it doesn't really end up being that person's number. That hardly ever happens. The nice thing is that when you get Sally as lead, you call Sally, and then you of course you got to bring some context to the phone call. You can't just go in there and say, how's your day going? We want to build a friendship. Right. you got to know where you're headed. So if you call them, you let them know it looks like you were online and you were searching for a rental and you looked at this property. They'll spew it all out at you. They'll let you know right then and there. Is it Sally? They'll tell you immediately if it's her or not, which 99% of the time it is. They'll let you know if they're looking for a rental, if they've found one, if they're just looking online, or, hey, I own in the building, and they'll give you an answer, whatever it is. That's where you, as Eric says, that's where you pivot, where you go next, is based on that answer to that first question, which could be anything of, you call them, hi, this is Jesse from Defy Realty in Boca. It looks like you inquired about a rental property in Boca Country Club, the one that looks like it's a second floor, 1,600 square foot. And they will say, yeah, we wanted to go see it. Or, no, we were doing this. Yeah, we're looking to rent in 6 months. We're just looking. Anything could happen on that first question, but that's how you know what to pivot to next, is based on that answer.
And if you base everything on a conversion, if you're looking for conversion numbers for your listeners out there, it's up to you. And because every one of these, whether they start off as a renter or we convert them into a buyer, will become a buyer. And you just have to stay on top of it. Why not fill your pipeline with a dozen or 2 dozen people that are going to be at the end of their lease in 12 months? Why wouldn't you want to do that? So your conversion rate is up to you. If you want to convert them at the highest rate, stay on top of your rental. Even if they've rented and they didn't buy, stay on top of it. Call them in 6 months. Hey, there's something, you love this community, because you've had this relationship. Why don't we get you into a home so you don't have to rent anymore?
If a customer, if a customer does want to rent, right? Do you, at any point in that conversation, try to talk to them about buying, or maybe educate them on the buying process? Is there any point where you're doing that with every renter, or only select people based on what they're telling you? Are you always looking for an opportunity to convert the renter to a buyer? What's your approach with that?
Yeah, I would say, it does stem off of what kind of answer that they're going to give you. But I would use this as an overarching rule, which is most renters want to be a buyer at some point, or they have been in the past and they are convertible. So like most of the time, like we delivered 2 rentals on Saturday. We had 2 walkthroughs back to back. And both of them, like clockwork, I knew it was going to happen. They said, Jesse, this is my last year as a renter. That's what they said. My goal is to buy next year. So exactly what Eric just got done saying, which is, that's now up to us to keep them in our pipeline, to know, put it on the calendar. We use Follow Up Boss as our CRM. Put it in the anniversary date. Which date that their lease is coming up. You should start to talk to them before their rental is up. Let's talk about the programs. Let's talk about the things you have available. That's later on. However, let's say in the start of the process, they say that, hey, I want to rent. Okay, so we start talking to them about rentals, and they start to see what's available in their price point. Most people, when they look at what's available right now in our marketplace in Boca, Delray, Boynton Beach, Deerfield, all of these areas, they're going, wow, that's what I can get for $2,000 a month. Like, it's almost it's totally, it boggles them. They don't understand why they have to spend $2,000 a month for something that's like a 2-bedroom, 4th floor, no elevator, has stairs going up to it, and doesn't allow them any flexibility. So they're almost like wanting to ask, how do I buy? Because the payment is almost the exact same.
Right.
So, and in their mind, now they go by the old adage, that why pay somebody else when you could be paying yourself to pay down your mortgage or build your property equity. That automatically clicks into their mind, because chances are their parents told them you need to buy. Everybody said you need to buy property, you need to do that. It's been built into our whole entire culture that you need to own your home and get it paid off. So it's very easy for them to start thinking in that direction on their own without any coaxing on our end.
And keep in mind, on the bottom of our card, it says sales agent, sell, take the opportunity to sell.
Right.
And if somebody comes up and says, yeah, I want to rent for the rest of my entire life and I want nothing else and blah, blah, well, obviously that's going nowhere, but nobody does that. And they say, we want to rent, and we'll ask, so, is there a reason you're renting? Well, we're not sure about our credit. So we always have on standby on every rental call, a mortgage company that we use on a regular basis, that we let them tell them, because people think they're either too great or they're greater than their credit and their situation, or they're worse. Both will come out in a quick conversation. And when Jesse and I talk about this, Shane, these conversations, we're not talking 10-minute calls. This is on a quick phone call, just getting things together, because we don't want to stay on the phone. We don't want to stay on a text. We don't want to stay on an email. We want to get them into a property.
Yeah.
The second we can get them into a property, let's do it. Even if it's not the one, at least you're face to face, because when you have that contact, that's when the selling really begins.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then you can really convert a client if you get them face to face.
It's done.
Like, what is it? The stat that's that 90 something percent of buyers choose the first agent that they call or that they speak to. I think it's a small different variation of that. I think it's whoever gets in front of them first, whoever's standing face to face. And if they like and trust you, they're with you. They're going to be loyal. They're not going to be shopping you. They're not going to be doing any of these things. They're captive audience at that point. And you're able to convert at such a high clip if you're able to get them into a property. One other thing too with our process is, and we make this very, very clear almost to them, we don't even really have to say it, but let's say they're going to stick to being a renter. We're not showing you 20 places. It's just not happening. Like, we're going to find the property that's very close to what maybe you inquired on of that we got the lead with, but the fact find call is so targeted and such a fact find call to where we're listening to what they're saying, that next, what our thing is to find that one house. Like, I don't want to show you 3. I'd rather show you 1. I will show you 3, but we're writing one of those 3 up on our first visit. And that's how, we don't tell them that, but that's almost the posture that we take, is that let's choose 3 places if you want to see 3 that you will be interested in renting. Let's not just go out just to see places.
If you're taking a long time, as a lot of the complaints, Shane, they'll say it takes way too much time to do a rental.
Right.
If you're showing more than 3 properties, you're not doing your job. You're not a good agent, because you haven't listened to a single thing your client has asked,
right,
or you're not listening to the answers that they're giving, because you're not asking the right questions. So Jesse and I have never shown more than 3 properties to a renter, ever.
So I think that's probably something that any agent who's watching this or listening to this is thinking to themselves in their head as we're going through this conversation, which is great. I've got a renter. Okay, I'm willing to work with them, even though I typically don't work with renters. I'm going to try this out. Gosh, but how do I not drive them around town and show them 10, 15, 20 different properties, right? There's a saying like, working with a renter is the same amount of work as a buyer. It's just 1 less zero on the commission check, right?
Yeah.
What is, I know you said you don't actually say, I'm only going to show you 3. I'm not going to show you a single, another house.
Right.
What's that approach to where you kind of wrap it up, after day 1 of a few houses?
So it kind of stems from the beginning a little bit, which is, first off, they're very excited that you even called them on the rental. And you can, because you're the only agent who's paying attention to them, they're almost captive right off the bat. So what happens is during that fact find call, you almost tell them, like, we know what the marketplace looks like, and we know what's comparable to what you're looking at and really what's available. So we're going to choose, and you can even tell them this as a facetious question. I know you've already looked at what's out there before I've gotten on the phone with you, because everybody's rental search, buy search, everything starts online before they ever get in touch with any agent. They already know what's out there. You telling them what's on the MLS, sorry, dude, they already know. There's so many IDX websites out there. BEX is even one of them. They know what the inventory looks like. They just need your help to get into the front door and to tell them, how can I get it? Like, that's what they need you for. You are no longer a property shower. You're a knowledge broker. That's what you are. You are somebody that makes it possible for them to get into a rental or get into home ownership or sell your property or whatever. You let them know what is the path and how do I do that. It's no longer like, can you tell me what's available in my community, in my zip code? They can do that faster than what you can. They get alerts on their phone every day of what comes available. So it's almost like you tag along from that and go, you guys already know what's available. These are the houses that I agree with you that we should go see. Now, because whenever we get there, these things go fast. Let's get started on the paperwork ahead of time, so that if you go to one of these 3 houses and we like it, we can put in an offer immediately. They're listening to you. If you say and convey what you want them to believe with certainty, they're going to trust you and believe you and go along with that. If you say these are the 3 houses that fit your price point and are what you're looking for, they're not going to ask to go out a second time.
See, I would almost promise you, Shane, that the people that are saying and dogging the way rental leads are and saying they take too much time, I don't make enough money, their modus operandi is probably no different than their buying clients or their purchasing clients. They probably do the same thing, where they're showing way too many homes, not listening, not developing a relationship, not creating that trust factor. Again, I hate to harp on it, but we're supposed to sell. We're salespeople, and Jesse and I are no different than anybody else. With my situation of being blind, I don't know if you're listening. Well, your listeners don't know, but
right.
You have to sell a vision. If you're doing it for somebody buying a $500,000 home, do it for your rental, and you'll be amazed at how quick the system goes. Jesse and I don't want our business to look like this steep roller coaster. We want it to go nice and flat. And what better way to fill in between your closings of your purchases than to do it with rentals that take no time to do?
Yeah.
Right.
And it's marketing at its best. All these marketing firms in Boca and everywhere, they can't even compare to the marketing you do for yourself and your company that you do when you treat your client well.
Right.
And on top of it, it costs you nothing. You get paid to do it. And again, whether they rent, they don't rent, they buy, they don't buy, that client is yours for life. They will never shop you again.
So I know you all have had some success converting these renters to buyers. So like, how does that happen? Like, where does that occur? Is that usually on that first phone conversation? Does it occur maybe when you're out showing them a couple houses?
Yeah, I would say it, because of that mentality that they have, that they don't want to be a renter forever. It's easy to convert them. So again, it comes down to comparable properties. When they go out and they look at what they can get for their money, they go, what am I doing? They start to rethink their whole mindset. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example of one of them. This was given to us as a referral, and because somebody, they didn't want to work it, and which is okay. Not every agent has time for a renter. They may just want to collect a referral fee because they've got other things going on. That's okay. We had the time, so we said, let's go ahead and take it. They were looking for a a $4,000 rental downtown Delray, and they had a lot of money. They were doing well, but they wanted the flexibility to be able to try out the area and, be able to jump out of the property and have minimal losses, is really what their mindset was going into it. We were sending them stuff online first. Didn't even bring them to a property yet because they didn't like anything that we were showing them. We did one virtual showing at a downtown building in Delray, and they're like, it was about $5,000 a month. And she goes, what am I doing? And she sends us a purchase property. So and Eric and I, again, we're salespeople 100%. So we're like, we need to get her into that house immediately. She just sent us a purchase. Get her in there. She says, I don't know what I was thinking by going ahead and renting. I'm just throwing away money. And we just converted her into, and I think she bought the house for like, a little under $750. She bought a downtown place for under $750 cash. And we closed in 15 days, something just stupid. It was like, we got her through the HOA, we got her through everything.
We were cash buyer.
Cash deal. And she's almost thinking like, why am I going to waste $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year when I could just buy the place? It'll hold its equity and I'll just be able to sell it whenever I want to transition out of it. That's the kind of market that we're really in. You can get into a place, and right now prices are really staying flat. They're not really crazy fluctuating like some other states. Within our area, there's still a lot of people who are moving here. There's a lot of changing hands of a lot of properties. Properties haven't lost a lot of value. And again, it's about conveying certainty and that you believe what you are telling them. So that transfers that trust to them. Again, we're being salespeople, and we tell them that this is a good idea. And she bought the first house that we showed her immediately.
And again, to the listeners out there, this is not a process that it took with our client that took weeks. It was a matter of 2 or 3 days. We showed her a couple rentals virtually. She never even saw them. And the second the signals came up, we pivoted and put her, and she was purchasing the house 2 days later. Again, because we listened, again, because we spoke. We didn't have this preconceived notion, oh my God, this is a renter, I can't do anything with it. All it says to us, this is a client looking to purchase or rent. That's it.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. And you mentioned that, less of zero on the paycheck. And, I've heard that before. And like, I think about it. And in our eyes, if you have a process for working rentals and you know how to convert them, let's say they're just going to rent. If you work it right, there's only a couple things that you really have to do. And you could do a few rentals a week. Like you can really run through these very, very quickly because it's such a captive audience, because you have virtually no competition unless they already know an agent and they, have this whole thing. But if it's a fresh client, nobody else is calling them. So if you're able to just use your skills, use your process, getting them into a place is very, very easy. You don't have to do inspections. You're not doing title work. You're not dealing with the lender. You're not doing this. It's just, do you want to buy it? Okay, so let's pull your credit. Give me your proof of income. Give me your driver's license. I'll submit your deal. And then we get on the phone with the agent, build a great, paint a picture, as Eric says, for this person. 30 days later, we're delivering a rental and we're swapping checks for keys. It's very, very simple at that point. But I think that one of the biggest things is that if you're a new agent and you don't have a database, you don't have a big thing of people, clients and people that you can call on, and rentals are the easiest way to, one, build your database, which I'll go in a little bit more in just a little bit. But also, if you don't know the area very well,
Better way.
What better way to get through an HOA to know property types to just keep running through these rentals really fast? We've gotten to know a lot of communities just purely based on doing rentals and just getting in and getting out really fast. We know the property types, the layouts, what their HOA requirements are, because you're doing the same HOA app that you would do if you were a purchaser virtually. It's almost the same one. You know, getting your process down, because where most of new agents fail is right on the HOA end. These HOAs, you better have a complete packet or you're not getting through at all. That's how they run it. If you don't have a complete packet, you don't have a thing, your stuff, your paperwork isn't on point, that learning curve becomes less of a learning curve when you're doing this more often. You're going through more repetition of, okay, this is the things that I have to do in order to put a client into a place, whether whatever it is, a buyer, seller, renter, whatever.
And your process for your written process for a rental versus a purchase is different. You know, obviously paperwork is completely different. What isn't different is your skill set and of knowing how to sell or listen and talk and build a relationship. That's the same on everybody. But a lot of agents, and we run across them all the time, Shane, that they automatically develop this attitude, you know, towards a rental. Why? It's the same thing. It's the same client. It might be 12 months from now, though, that you might purchase, but it's the same skill set. So utilize these rentals that take no time, no extra time to hone your skill. It puts you in a position of being able to talk to a client a little bit different, or try positioning your showings, like the one that you know they're going to get. Show us, you know, see how positioning works on that. It's a great time to learn and hone your skills. And if I may, real quick, talk about another situation, and where it's come into play, where a lot of agents, and we hear it all the time, you know, when they talk about, are you guys busy? We say we're slammed. We're absolutely slammed. And they go, well, I'm not. And so we dig into the conversation with these agents, and it's very clear why they're not busy. But one that really gets our goat really, really bad is I can't tell you, it's probably 8 out of 10 agents we speak to, and we talk about rentals. They'll say, well, I won't show a single property or anything unless I get their proof of income, their credit score, their this, their that. And immediately we're both going, that's why you don't sell anything. That's why you're not busy, because you've already put a position to the client in your head that this is what they're like, and you automatically freeze up. Your ability to talk becomes like closed to the client. And if you don't think clients can pick this up and hear it, you're badly mistaken. So we had a client 2 years ago, and amazing guy, just put himself in a bad position with choices in life. And he came to us with a 560, you know, Beacon. Job was hit and miss, pay stubs galore. But you could tell that this guy has just been through the ringer with everybody. He was coming out of a house where he wanted a fresh start. And, you know, and we talk about it all the time, because he's very close to us now, him and his family, because he was by himself at the time. And so he just needed somebody to listen and somebody to say, let's put this together, without criticizing, without judging, without asking for things that we already knew were in play with his situation. Well, sure enough, we got him into a rental. He stuck with his job, became a manager of a place, ended up paying beautifully, you know, 12 months rent, decided to move to Jersey, lives in Jersey for 6 months, gets married, has a baby, calls us and says, hey guys, because we all kept in contact, he just purchased a home 6 months ago in Boca. You know, And this is from a guy, everybody threw him away, just crumbled up his thing and pitched. And this is what I'm talking about. Now, he has already sent us 2 rental clients, referrals, which one is already turning into a buyer now that we're working on currently. And that is what I'm talking about, where you don't judge the book or cherry pick the deal. Everybody's the same. So
it's very interesting. What would you say I know you kind of mentioned this a little bit, which is, are there any other misconceptions that you think agents have about rental leads?
whew,
Yeah.
you can go on that one, but I'll go on it.
Yeah. And we've touched on it a lot. And I think that, I think that we have to look at the bigger picture. That's my thing. Don't worry about the daily grind of trying to convert that. Like you're going to have to do that with everybody. You gotta, it's a building block to building a business. But if you're a new agent, it's probably the most influential book or most talked about book in residential real estate that was, written 20 years ago, Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller, right? One of the main things that he talks about in there is database building. How do I build a database? Because to build a business, it needs to be duplicatable. You have to be able to scale. You can't just call leads every day. It's too sporadic. You have to have lead flow. You have to have these things, but your repeat referral clients, as you get more tenured in the business, has to build up. You have to have more of them. And then you have a repeatable, duplicatable business that you can really build something around. When it comes to these renters, they are by far, in our opinion, the best database builder. Because if, let's say, all they are is a renter, we're not able to convert them into a buyer. All they are is a renter. If you have even the easiest follow-up campaign, just call them 3 months before their end of their rental. You have the greatest pipeline. If you're able to convert these renters into a client, because if somebody likes and trusts you, you already have them won. They already have an agent. If someone calls them, sorry guys, I already have an agent. Because if you were the only one who listened to them when they were just a client, because most of them think, sorry guys, I'm only a rental. I know you're not going to make a lot of money on us. They actually say this stuff to you.
It's shocking.
It is shocking. They have no idea how the process really works, but they know that nobody wants to work with them because they don't make any money on these rental deals. But if you're a new agent, building a database of people who like and trust you per a past client list, as well as a referral list that you can call on. If you're calling your past clients and a true sphere of influence, what I mean by that is a true database that has that type of people in there that you can actually call. They actually know who Jesse and Eric are. They like and trust you. You're going to get referral, repeat business that is scalable. And you can, because now we've got a whole mail out campaign. We've got a bunch of things built out around it where, our CRM will just be like, okay, day one, we got a day one of the month, we're sending out, a newsletter. And then, as we go through, we look at who we've closed as their anniversary, because we write everybody's date down when they've purchased. It's the easiest thing. Send them a thank you card. Whatever you got to do, keep the relationship going. But there's so many times where your database is your most lucrative part. Being a real estate agent is being a knowledge broker, but also there's so many real estate agents in South Florida. What sets you apart? Your relationship is what sets you apart. If you have somebody who likes and trusts you, they're not going anywhere else. Anytime their family, friends, anybody who's going to do a real estate transaction, they ask the person, they're going to say, oh, those guys, they only helped me with my $1,200 rental, but they treated me in such a good way and they got me in a stable position that I'm going to refer everybody to you. And the funny thing is they do refer you out. We've gotten so many purchase sales off of just renting somebody who was a single person. They needed $1,500 rental, and we've already sold their mom a place, we sold their brother a place. You know
Right.
what I mean? We all of a sudden these relationships come out of nowhere. It's that law of serendipity that ends up happening where just that stuff just starts happening. That's all relationship building, and that's purely building a database. If you're a new agent, fill it with renters. Try to convert buyers, sellers, do that networking, do what you have to do, call leads, but don't shy away from the renters, because the renters, you'll get paid to build your database.
And to go with the question that you're asking, what are the misconceptions? That in and of itself is a problem, because you've already put misconceptions on something that you have on a client you've not even spoken to yet. So those misconceptions are awful. It's a sign of a bigger problem, Shane, than dealing with rentals. It's on the agent's shoulders at that point, because if you've already placed these misconceptions on a targeted client, such as a rental client, you've already lost the game. So you might as well call us and give us your rental lead, because we'll turn it into something, and that is a promise. But I think time is a big one that we hear a lot of, that it takes too much time, not enough money. And that again brings us to the point where, Defy Realty, it's an acronym for doing everything for you. We're purely relational. We're not transactional. I think a lot of the industry has become very, very transactional. And I think that's a bad cancer to the business, because it places you and your business in a point of, I'm in it for the buck. We all want to make money. I get that. But you have no right to ask a client for a dime unless you've built that relationship, that trust. And we're not talking months, we're talking the first phone call. So, this idea of, if you're not buying today, if you're not renting today, or give me this information, you've already lost the whole process of what being a good agent is all about. And that's being a good resource for people. That's being a salesperson for people. That's being a guardian of these clients, because we're in it for the relationship. We're not in it for the transaction. And that might sound counterintuitive to a sales environment, but if you've built the relationship, the transaction always comes. It always comes.
Right.
So I think time is a big thing. I think also having the idea of, I'm not going to have the extra zero. Well, if you've already done that, again, you've now placed yourself in a position where you've taken a client who could have, or would have, or will have become a owner, and just pitched it because you're lacking a zero. If you have all these misconceptions and these problems with these, it's because you've not positioned yourself as an agent with enough skills, with enough tools in your belt, so to speak. So why not, again, I hate to sound like a broken record here.
Yeah.
Why not position yourself while getting paid to hone your skill? There's no better education than that.
Right. Well, guys, thank you so much. This is really insightful. A lot of nuggets of wisdom, I would definitely say, that you've dropped throughout this meeting. Do you want to tell everybody a little bit about who you guys are, Defy Realty, what you do?
Yeah. You want?
Do you have an hour?
Yeah. We're well, Eric and I jumped in the business 5 years ago, with really the goal of starting our own brokerage. And last year we were able to get all that stuff together, and we built Defy Realty. We are growing. We've got 18 agents now. We've only been, doing this for about 7 months. But the thing is that we try, and we want to have the right people who join, who believe in what we believe in. And we're getting a lot of agents that are newer that want to build a career. And a lot of the things that, like, even I dropped on the call, which are database building, all this stuff is just stuff that the business is so basic. It's such a basic business. but everybody thinks there's this silver bullet that other people must know something that they don't know, which is not the truth. The truth is just build relationships and build and try to build a scalable, duplicatable business by building a database. That's really what this business really is. And Defy Realty stands for doing everything for you. We're moving into a bigger office space within May. And we're hopefully going to try to grow a bigger team and hire some people and kind of just grow this whole thing. That's what our goal is. And if you want to look us up, this is another thing. You can look up defyrealty.com. DEFY is Defy Realty. We got a Facebook, Defy Realty. You can look that up too. But we're not trying to say that, that we want to try to recruit all these people. Like, if you have questions, call us. I mean, Eric's phone number, if you want to tell them what your phone number is.
I'll talk a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Eric, if you want to reach Eric, 561-305-6460. And then mine is 561-376-7765. And I'll even give you our email, ej@defyrealty.com. You can, any questions that you have about work and rental leads, or maybe the process in general, or whatever it is, it's not secret information. It really isn't. Like, we're all in this business to try to help better the client experience, to help each other out. That's what doing everything for you really stands for. That's what we believe in. Not just doing everything for the client, but doing everything for our agents. Like, if we have agents that have deals that need to get done,
we're doing it.
We're doing it with you. Why not? Like, we're the brokers of the company. Let's just get it done. Let's create another client relationship to where, hopefully we can again build that database, build a business, build all those things around it. And it all starts with one client. And you can really build a great business if you just focus on, you have one client in front of you. That's it.
And Shane, in closing, I know that this is taking a while, but we're really passionate about this, and we're passionate about the whole industry as a whole. And to your listeners who are watching this, and if I could just give one little last tidbit. My grandmother said to me when I was 4 years old, she said, "A stranger is a friend or family member you haven't met yet." And don't get caught up with all what this industry will do to you and tell you how this lead is that. Get rid of it all. It's all baggage. It's all weighting you down. Pick up the phone. They're a stranger at the first second you say hello. The second you've exchanged hellos, that's your friend now. Treat them like your friend. Talk to them. They'll tell you what they need help with. Don't go into this with this, steamroller effect and say, "Listen, let's get to the transaction. Let's get to the end." Drop it. Just talk to the people. When you do that, they might not buy from you, but I guarantee you they'll hang up that phone call and never forget your name. I promise you.
So that's great. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Shane.
Bye, y'all.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks for having us. Bye.
Of course. Bye.